You are not waiting because you are not ready. You are waiting because waiting protects the old version of you. It lets you keep the dream clean in your mind, untouched, unrisked, unmeasured. The moment you begin, the fantasy has to touch the furnace. The plan has to become a page. The idea has to become a draft. The promise has to become a rep. And that is where most people disappear. They call it needing clarity. They call it timing. They call it preparation. But underneath all of that, they are asking for a feeling that work was never designed to give them first. Readiness is not the door. The rep is the door. You know the pattern. You look at the task. You know it matters. You know it would move your life forward. You know the version of you that you keep talking about is on the other side of it. But you do not start. You organize the desk. You watch one more video. You open the notes again. You rename the plan. You tell yourself you are getting serious. But the task is still sitting there, untouched, waiting for a version of you who never has to feel pressure. That version is not coming. The life you want will not be carried by the version of you who needs perfect emotional weather. It will be carried by the version who can move while the room is quiet, while the confidence is missing, while the first attempt still looks rough. The few do not wait for the mood to crown them. They enter the room before they feel decorated. They make the first strike before the metal looks useful. They understand that identity does not arrive as a private announcement. It arrives as evidence. One kept hour. One sent message. One finished page. One honest rep. One moment where the old excuse reached for the wheel and you took it back. That is how readiness is built. Not by thinking about the future version. By giving the future version proof. Inside the forge, the steel does not ask the blacksmith if it feels ready. Does not wait until it understands the fire. It does not request a gentler temperature. It enters the heat because heat is part of becoming useful. The furnace does not hate the steel. The hammer does not punish it. The pressure is not there to prove the steel is weak. The pressure reveals what shape can survive. That is what your first uncomfortable rep is. It is the furnace door. It is the place where the dream stops being an aesthetic and starts becoming a standard. Most people want the crown without the heat. They want the identity without the evidence. They want to feel like a disciplined person before they have lived through the boredom of discipline. They want to feel like a creator before they finish the weak first draft. They want to feel like a business owner before they make the offer. They want to feel like the person before they practice the behavior. But the forge does not work in that order. The behavior comes first. The evidence comes next. The identity starts to believe after that. And confidence arrives last, like a witness, not a leader. If you keep waiting to feel ready, you keep asking the witness to do the work of the builder. Confidence is not supposed to build the first rep. Confidence is supposed to remember that you already did. That is why the first rep feels so expensive. It costs the old version control. It costs the fantasy its safety. It costs the excuse its hiding place. The first rep exposes the truth. Maybe the work is rough. Maybe the skill is weaker than you hoped. Maybe the offer needs sharpening. Maybe the routine is not strong yet. Good. Now the metal is in the fire. Now the blacksmith has something real to shape. You cannot forge what never enters the heat. So here is the turn. Stop asking, am I ready? Ask, what is the first rep? Not the whole empire. Not the finished transformation. Not the perfect system. The first rep. If the task is writing, open the document and write the first ugly 200 words. If the task is content, outline the first 30 seconds. If the task is an offer, write the first clear promise. If the task is outreach, send the first honest message. If the task is health, put on the shoes and complete the first set. If the task is cleaning up your life, remove the first source of friction. Make it small enough to begin, but real enough to count. Do not make it symbolic. Do not make it a mood board. Do not make it another reset ritual. Make it evidence. For the next 24 hours, choose one thing you have been postponing because you wanted to feel more ready. Write it down. Cut it down to one uncomfortable rep. Then complete it before you explain it, announce it, optimize it, or ask your mood for permission. When resistance appears, do not treat it as a sign to stop. Treat it as the heat confirming you found the right door. The old version does not panic when you think about changing. It panics when you begin. So begin where it panics. That is where the leverage is. You do not need to feel ready today. You need to stop making readiness the price of entry. The Forge is not asking for your perfect confidence. It is asking for one honest strike. One rep that the old version cannot erase. One piece of evidence that says you moved before the feeling arrived. So make this the vow. I will not wait for a mood to approve the life I say I want. I will enter the heat with one real rep. I will let evidence teach my identity what promises cannot. Ready is late. The first strike is now.